And we've got perhaps the most dramatic image of the Russian invasion that's coming in on day 6 of this military operation. A missile attack or a rocket attack in the heart of Kharkiv city has been captured very, very disturbingly on a person's mobile phone, filming from their car apparently or from their building. A historic government building in Kharkiv blown up in a missile attack by Russia. These terrifying images have been captured. They've been shared by senior members of the Ukrainian government as well as research analysts on the ground. This is a government building in Kharkiv, the city that has seen the worst combat and fighting since this invasion began, and one of the most compelling, most dramatic, most disturbing images coming in of what appears to be either a cruise missile or a ballistic missile, can't tell which, smashing into a government building and reducing it to absolute debris. Huge fireball, massive plumes of smoke, nothing left of that building. This is in Kharkiv city. It's a historic government building very close to Kharkiv's Freedom Square, we're told, where this has just taken place. I want to go across to Jan Husar, who's live with us from the capital city of Kyiv, which is west from Kharkiv right now. But Jan, I'm sure you've seen this image that's just come out of a devastating missile striking a government building in the middle of Kharkiv city. This is looking like a really, really big strike, Jan. What are you hearing about it?
I seen it, but I haven't have any information. But right now, I don't know if you can hear it, but there is air raid sirens. There is air raid attack in Kiev. So we are under fire in Kiev since Thursday, right? So I couldn't even imagine what is happening in Kharkiv, because we have air raid sirens and cruise missiles landing in the capital city every night. I woke up today to an explosion. So that's a sort of not you are looking for. Yeah, you don't want to wake up and with a big blast that actually is the alarm clock for you now. Kharkiv to me seems they are going to destroy it. I don't understand what is happening and why all these people are suffering while they did nothing wrong.
What kind of damage are you hearing? Yes, we can hear the sirens, that are playing out in Kyiv. Just for a moment, I want to talk about what's happening in Kharkiv as well, Jan, because
okay,
that is a city that's seeing some of the worst damage being done in the city of Kharkiv, and clearly that is, increasing as we speak, as is being captured in this video.
What is happening in Kharkiv may be a template. What we will see will happen in other cities. I just heard there is a big columns of machinery heading from Russia to eastern Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I think that the peace talks, or how to say, yesterday, they failed. And they failed not just the politicians, but they failed the people on the ground who live here, and they have nowhere to go. One thing is to be a refugee, and the second, unable to be able to escape from the situation where you are. I heard that in Kharkiv, there are even journalists asking for evacuation, and nobody is going to get them. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
It's really, it's pretty scary. Jan, thank you for being with me. Continue to be with me. I also have with us Ukrainian Member of Parliament, Sofia Fedina, who's live with me. Sofia, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing okay. Your city is under siege right now. You know better than anyone else what the situation is with, with that huge war convoy that is heading towards Kyiv. There is talk of a possible large assault. But I first want to ask you very quickly, Sofia, about what's happening in Kharkiv right now. I'm sure you've seen these images, very disturbing image of a large missile attack on a big historic government building right next to Freedom Square in Kharkiv. Have you heard about this? Anything more you can tell us about this? Because it appears that Kharkiv is where the worst fighting is taking place.
One of the worst fighting is taking place. Kharkiv is a native city of my mom, and my aunt and my sisters are there at this moment. They had to hide in the shelters. They're working in the hospital. But this rocket attack on the administrative building is something totally not normal, because this is civilian infrastructure. And there is no weapon. There is no possibility is somehow to influence the situations, just administration. But furthermore, yesterday the Kharkiv was attacked by multiple rocket launcher, and yesterday we've got many wounded and many killed civilian people by these rockets. I know that on many Indian televisions, Moscow Federation's representative, they say that they have just a military peacekeeping operation. They do not attack civilian infrastructure. But I think now everyone can see what they do, how they lie. They just kill civilian people. Right now in Kyiv, we have air alarm. People have to hide once again. And there are very heavy battles around Kyiv, on the neighboring cities, especially Hostomel, Vorzel, Bucha. The fights are going on and everything is burning. These are civilian people that are being just attacked because we do not want to have Moscow Federation troops here. Unfortunately, yesterday on the General Assembly of the United Nations, the representative of Moscow Federation, he was telling about some aggressive Ukrainians. He was telling the perverted truth that Moscow has to enter Ukraine, just protect ourselves. We do not need any protection. We need Moscow Federation to back off, to take away troops. Do you know that they are using prohibited bombs? They are using vacuum bombs over Ukraine. They are using, how it's called, I written a translation, multiple, they use cluster munition. These are bombs that are, after shelling, they turn into many small bombs. These are also prohibited. They use it in Ukraine right now. And actually, once again, a plea to the world. We have to stop Putin. He is terrorist. He is terrorizing all the world. He is creating wars everywhere they come. And Moscow soldiers that are imprisoned in Ukraine, they never expected to be a part of war. They were told that they're going to peacekeeping operation. And when they have seen that they are killing civilians, massive shelling, massive bombing, they are just give away their weapon and they're going to prisons. But unfortunately, Moscow is using rocket launchers. They are using the special aircrafts bombing the cities, and it's not so easy to stop them by ourselves. But people are in total resistance. No one wants Moscow to be here, and we'll fight for our country. We'll fight for peace. Sorry for emotions.
Sophia, you don't have to be sorry about any emotions. We feel exactly what you're feeling right now. Please feel free to speak as you are here on India Today, because we will not censor what is going on. We are choosing between the different kinds of misinformation that are coming out, and you cannot see our television screen right now, but right now on my television screen is the picture that you were talking about right now, that missile attack on a defenseless government building in the heart of Kharkiv. You said your mother is from the city of Kharkiv. You have family, relatives, friends over there. Have you heard from them? Because this is devastating. A missile attack on a government building is completely the opposite of what we've been hearing about so far.
I've heard from them 2 hours ago, before the new attack started. Now I cannot reach them, and actually I know if they are working, saving people. They're doing this 8 years in a row. But I think the problem is that everyone in Ukraine has relatives in different cities that are being right now under attack. And we cannot escape from Ukraine. We know that there are some women and children are going out to Ukraine, but all the men are taking back to protect the country. Right now, I've got a lot of soldiers I took care of from 2014 who returned from abroad, and without having any official paper, they are going to war zone to continue their fight that they started in 2014. What is really important for Indian citizens to understand, Ukraine was a peaceful country always. We have never attacked anyone. During 300 years, we've been fighting with Moscow Federation because every time they wanted to destroy Ukraine and they wanted to erase everything Ukrainian. We survived deportations, great famine in which 10 million people were just murdered to death because of famine. We were imprisoned. We were tortured everywhere. Now this is kind of liberation war, but Ukraine is already 30 years independent country. And in 2014, Moscow Federation just came to our territory, annexed Crimea, occupied Donbass. And now they are telling us that we are enemies, that we are aggressive, and they have to pacify us. But Ukrainians had never gone to Moscow territory. They are attacking us right now. They came from outer space to just kill us. And that is amazing how the world is united today, how big support we feel. But we need to make it more. We need to make it faster. We need to do everything to stop him. He is insane. And as I know, yesterday on American presidential level, there was a discussion about mental health of Putin, because normal, adequate person cannot do an order to shell innocent people.
Sophia, the city you're in right now, we've spoken about Kharkiv. We've spoken about, what's happening in different other parts of Ukraine. Let's come to Kyiv now, where you are right now. I assume you are in Kyiv right now. You're a member of parliament. The president of your country is also said to be in Kyiv right now. The peace talks that happened yesterday, I don't think anybody had very much hope from them. And anyway, they haven't really gone anywhere. You've seen those images. I have been in a city under siege before. I reported from Libya many years ago. So believe me when I say I know what it's like. I'm not just saying this. I know it's scary and I know the emotions you're feeling right now, Sophia. My question to you is, you've seen those images of that huge war convoy. We understand it's about 64 kilometers long, of tanks and trucks that are heading towards Kyiv from the north. Is it a situation where you and other people in Kyiv are wondering when this big assault is going to happen?
The first thing, right now I'm not in Kyiv, I'm in Lviv. I came here for several days.
Yes.
Lviv is nearby the Polish border.
Yes.
Because yesterday my husband left to the war, and I came here to help him to gather all the stuff. He went to the south of Ukraine, where it's one of the hardest situations as well. The Moscow airborne forces are attacking the south of the country. They occupied several cities there. So the airborne forces of Ukraine from my city, they left there to help to liberate that from the Moscovian troops. I think that in a day I returned to Kyiv, trying to help there as well and working as a parliamentarian. But I have to say that in Lviv right now, all the embassies were evacuated to Lviv, and me and my colleagues are working here with international partners to help them with the full picture of understanding what is going on in the country and what we can do together to stop Putin. About Convoy, I think I'm from that part of Ukrainian society that knew that Moscow will start the full-scale aggression. I have to tell you the truth. My family was heavily repressed in the Soviet times. Mostly all my mother's family from Kharkiv, they starved to death because of Stalin great famine policy. When the soldiers of Stalin took all the food from people because they were only Ukrainians, they were taking food from Ukrainians for Ukrainians to die. My father's family was repressed because my grandfather, he was a priest, and he was persecuted by Soviets. So we never had any good expectations from Moscow Federation. And in 1991, when Ukraine became independent, it was really peaceful. It was without any battle, without any blood. Unfortunately, we knew that we will have to pay for our independence. And we, for the last 5 months, we were telling everyone that we have to get ready, that we had to prepare a lot of money for our army, that we have to get weapons, that we have to develop defense infrastructure and defense factories, because something is going to happen. Unfortunately, we were right. But psychologically, we were ready that something is going to happen. By the way, the majority of Ukrainians became ready the moment the Moscow army invaded. And I think that Putin was totally shocked when he had seen such a full resistance. Do you know that we already have seen the documents that Putin had a plan to take over Kyiv in 2 days? They planned to invade on 24th of February, and they planned to take Kyiv on the 26th. And they even had a video statement that they have already conquered Kyiv. But it became unbelievable that Ukrainians stopped it, stopped the second strongest army in the world, as Moscow Federation position is. And, you know, I would say that every person, every brick, every cat, every dog is helping to stop the occupant. Everything in Ukraine is against killers from Moscow.
Sophia, you're right when you say that Ukrainians since 2014, since the invasion began in 2014 with the Crimean operations, you're saying that Ukrainians have been ready. Please forgive me, because, you know, I share your emotions right now about a country that is under siege. I do want to ask you a personal question. Please forgive me. You can choose not to answer it if you don't want to. But your husband is in the military. You said that you've gone to Lviv to help him prepare for this war. I'm sure there are hundreds, if not thousands, of men and women who have spouses or partners who are in the military right now. So what you have been doing in Lviv is actually something that thousands of people in Ukraine have been doing as well.
The same thing, actually. My task was to get all the necessary equipment for him, as everything that we had previously already had gone to the war zone. And we're working with our international partners, especially with amazing country of Poland, who are helping us to transport ammunition, bulletproof vests, helmets, tablets, all the necessary technical equipment for the soldiers to help them to survive. So we were helping to take this through the border, and we were supplying to the army. Then here in Lviv, we have very big volunteer center that is together with our authorities, but this is thousands and thousands of volunteers that are gathering food, that are gathering equipment, that are gathering medication, medical aid. Also, we have here a big center of helping those refugees who flee from the war zone, helping women with children, families with cats and dogs, with all the animals that also were taken by people. Ukrainians do not leave any family member in the war zone. We are taking everyone. We help to transport some people to Romania, to Slovakia, to Czech Republic, to Poland, to some other countries that take Ukrainian refugees. And Lviv nowadays is a big hub that's helping to do all this stuff. And Lviv is one of the first cities, easiest cities to reach from abroad. And as I've told many of my soldiers, I mean, those soldiers I took care of from 2014. I've been military volunteer from 2014. I'm helping them to come back from abroad and to get in contact with their brigades and to get a transport for them to go to the war zone.
Yes.
And actually, one more, the position is that we try to get cars, because we do not have normal connection with the war zones. So these should be cars, buses. We try to organize, to coordinate, and send them with the soldiers to the war zone.
Sophia, I wish you the very best. I am sorry to be hearing about what you're going through, what your family is going through. Please give my best wishes to your husband, to your mother, to your family in Kharkiv and your friends. All I can tell you is that we've got our eyes on this story. It's the only thing I can offer you right now as a journalist in India, but I know that means something to you, and we will continue to give it. Thank you, Sophia, for being brave.
Thank you so much.
For being
Thank
there.
you that you care.
And we will continue to be there with you. Thank you very much. Sophia Fedina, Ukrainian MP, husband in the army, who's gone off now to war. We've got more breaking news coming in now. And this is only escalating with each passing minute. Ukraine has now accused Russia of killing civilians. Russia's war violates humanitarian law, says Ukraine in an official statement. It says Russia's main target is large cities. Russia is firing missiles on cities. Ukraine's government has just put out this statement saying that civilian areas, civilian targets, places not defended by military establishments and military units are the prime targets of Russia, and this is in violation of humanitarian law and amounts to war crimes, says the Ukrainian government. Dr. Yevgenia Gaba, who's a former advisor to the Ukrainian leadership, is with me live from Kyiv at this point of time. Dr. Gaba, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Thank you for being with me. A big statement from Ukraine, formal statement from the government, where they're saying that it is Russia's policy now only to hit civilian areas. And this comes just minutes after a very, very disturbing video has come out of a possible cruise missile attack on a government building in Kharkiv.
Yes, exactly. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm currently out of Ukraine because I could not get back, but I will with the first flights once they are renewed, hopefully very soon.
Yes.
Well, you're absolutely correct, because if previously we had this assault from the Russian Federation, which was absolutely unfair and which is a blunt violation of international law in itself, now we also have violations of international humanitarian law. Because what we are witnessing now is that basically Russian Federation is afraid of Ukrainian soldiers and of Ukrainian military. So whatever it does is aimed at causing as much damage to Ukraine as a country and to Ukrainian civilians as possible. Several days ago, we had attacks and we had assaults, and including missiles shot at orphanages, at like hospitals, at civilian infrastructure, at those parts of our cities and those strata of our society, at those groups which are most vulnerable and least defended. So this is actually how Russia is functioning, and this is what Russia is doing. So with this, yesterday, this night, and today morning's attacks in Kharkiv, for example, these are blunt war crimes, and these are crimes against humanity, because the weaponry which is being used by the Russian Federation is actually forbidden. You know that I don't want to go into technical details, but I believe that you and those who are watching us know that there are several types of weapons which are forbidden under international humanitarian law, and those are also being used by Russians. So the main target now, I think, is civilians, because this is also a psychological war. It's important to understand that it's not only about military dimension, it's also about information war, it's also about psychological war. So what Russia is trying to do, and will most probably try to do it throughout today and the next couple of days, is to make some damage to our connection, to our mobile networks, to our systems, and then to spread information that actually Kyiv is now under Russian occupation, so you have to surrender, you have to actually leave your weapons and say welcome to Russia. But this is not going to happen, because we've been prepared, and we've been in this state of war for 8 years, including information war, including hybrid warfare, all kinds of subversive operations. That is why now actually the world is witnessing this resilience of Ukrainian society. So we're going to stand here, we're going to defend our country, including military, including civilians, including children, women, men, everyone who is capable of doing something, not necessarily in the battlefield, but in any kind of information fronts, diplomatic, whatever, you name it. We're going to defend our country, and this is not going to happen. Now, the psychological state of Russians is much, much worse, because their soldiers were sent to Ukraine mostly thinking they are going to take part in the exercises and in the drills. And now we can read these textings and messages and then listen to phone conversations of Russian boys who are like 17 years old, 20 years old, calling their moms and dads and saying, please take me out of this hell, because I was absolutely sure we're going to exercises in Crimea, and now I find myself in the middle of Ukrainian of Ukraine killing Ukrainian civilians and us being killed by Ukrainian soldiers. Russians are taken to the streets, like 1 million people signed a petition to stop this war. So I think that the attacks and the assaults from the Russian side will be even more severe in the next days, because it looks like an agony of this totalitarian, authoritarian dictatorship and Putin's bloody regime.
Dr. Yevgenia, the sense is that Putin, did not expect this invasion to go on for so long. There are many analysts who believe that he underestimated the defensive strength of Ukraine. He may have miscalculated the amount of time necessary to actually take over and invade Ukraine. But right now, the pictures that we're seeing on day 6 of this invasion, this very dramatic missile attack in Kharkiv, the huge convoy of tanks and armored vehicles right outside Kyiv. I want to know your perception. Is Putin planning to flatten these cities? Does he need to destroy the cities to take over? What is his plan according to you?
Well, I believe that his initial plan did not work, and that is the main game changer. Because what Putin and what many Russian experts most probably were expecting, and at least what they were telling to their people, that you will be welcomed in Ukraine. So what we need is basically like 1 day or maximum 2 days of marching, and that would be easy walk from the northern borders of Ukraine and from the eastern parts of Ukraine to take the capital, and afterwards we will have a capitulation of Ukrainian government. So we will have a government change in Ukraine, and that's it. And those people who are Russian-speaking population, according to Putin and according to his strategies, would have to welcome Russian defenders or whatever you name it with flowers in the streets, saying that perfect that you came and we've been expecting for you for so long. This did not happen. Odessa, Kherson, Mykolaiv, Crimea, which is in the southern direction, right, and who are Russian-speaking population, but also the eastern regions and such cities which are also of strategic importance, like, for example, Mariupol or Berdyansk. These are also the seaports on our Sea of Azov, and they are close to the now occupied territories in the Donbas and Lugansk regions. So those people are protesting even more, if I can use this formulation, than all others, because they know that they are also targeted, they are vulnerable for this kind of Ruski Mir concept, Russian world concept, Novorossiya, and all these crap, all this nonsense which is being told about common destiny, common history, common culture. That's not the case anymore. I'm a Russian speaker myself, though my native language is Ukrainian, but I use Russian language generally. And I have taught in the University of Odessa for 7 years in Russian language. So people, everyone can speak whatever language he or she prefers and chooses to do. But for Russian soldiers who have been brainwashed for many, many years and who came to Ukraine expecting they will be welcomed here with bread and salt and flowers, and now what they see, they are welcomed with bullets, with gunshots.
Doctor,
so this is, I think, a huge miscalculation.
Dr. Gaba, thank you very
Putin's
much
regime.
for being with me. I wish you well. I hope you get to go back to your native country very soon. Stay safe, and we will keep in touch with you. Thank you for giving us your time here. I want to just show you what's happening on the ground as far as this attack is concerned. This is where things are at. This huge cruise missile attack has just taken place in Kharkiv. I have Rajesh Pawar live with me from Kyiv. This is the latest image that we've been getting in from the site in Kharkiv of a civilian administrative government building, a historic building that's just been struck by a cruise missile. The most compelling image by far, and we've been looking at every image that's been coming in. I want to go across to India Today's Rajesh Pawar, who's live with us from the capital city of Kyiv. Rajesh, I wonder if you've been able to see the image that we have on our screen right now, which is from Kharkiv. It's probably the clearest image, Rajesh, of a cruise missile strike on a government building. This has been officially released just now.
Morning, Shiv. Unfortunately, I can't see anything. I'm reporting from phone, and only thing I can see is my own face in the phone. That's all. But as far as Kyiv is concerned, I can show you, if you can see my background, it's all white. It snowed last night here. And last night there were a lot of explosions we heard, and the air siren kept going off even in the morning today. So my estimate is at least 8 to 10 rockets / cruise missiles have hit Kyiv last night as well. And as far as overall situation is concerned, my information from sources, full-scale invasion has broken out from Donbass into Ukrainian territory, and Russian forces are making advance on both sides towards northeast and towards southeast of Ukraine, which is adjoining Donbass region. Shiv.
Rajesh, just talk over these pictures for us, because right now, ever since we've broken these images about half an hour ago, as always, first here on India Today, we've had a series of, Ukrainian analysts, Ukrainian MPs also right here on India Today saying that, this could be the beginnings of a larger, large-scale kind of bombardment of Ukrainian cities. Are you also hearing the same thing?
Look, Shiv, this has been a continuous effort of Ukrainian people, Ukrainian government especially, to convey a message to the world that civilian areas are being hit. I can confirm it to you that as far as Kyiv is concerned, as far as Mariupol, where I reported for 4 days, is concerned, they did not hit civilian targets at all. And what I showed you yesterday, 2 bombs, that's all the Ukrainian government could show to the journalists around the world. Only 2 civilian areas where missiles have hit civilian areas. Now things are changing a bit. Russians have advised all Ukrainians to leave Kyiv, which points towards a direction that things are changing now.
The Indian government
If they have told the civilians to leave, it means they intend to hit civilian targets as well, because there are a lot of targets which are of strategic importance, but are important to civilians. For example, the power plants, the water supply plants, the dams, all these have huge implications for civilians. And if they go out of function, civilians in this cold, you can see snow everywhere. To survive without power, without water, it will be almost impossible. So when the government urges citizens of Kyiv to leave the city, it indicates towards a direction that probably some civilian targets, which will affect civilians badly, will be hit very soon. Or as you said, in Kharkiv now, it might have been hit. I'm not surprised by that. Shiv.
Like you rightly said, there has been some evidence of civilian areas being hit, but not of a wider scale. But the images are starting to come in that suggest that things might be changing. Exactly what you're saying, Rajesh, is actually playing out on our television screens right now as we cover this story. In addition to the Russians, Rajesh, asking Ukrainians to get out of Kyiv, the Indian government has also issued an advisory asking Indians, to try and leave Kyiv as quickly as possible. But as you yourself have experienced and many people have experienced, getting out of Kyiv is not easy at all.
No, Shiv, that's not true. Getting out of Kyiv right now is quite easy. Yesterday, because I've been getting calls from a lot of Indian students, even foreign students, if I can help them to leave Kyiv. Yesterday, Ukrainian government, Ukrainian railways had placed additional trains for people to leave Kyiv towards the borders with Poland, Romania, and Hungary. So leaving Kyiv even today is not so difficult. Over to you, Shiv.
The current situation in Kyiv, Rajesh, you're saying that it's easy to leave Kyiv, but we're hearing different voices from, we're flooded with voices of students saying that they're stuck, they don't know where to go. So, maybe information is not trickling down right now, but clarify this for us. Where are this huge Russian convoy that we've seen heading towards Kyiv? Where is it right now? What is the final intent? Is it going to be an encirclement of Kyiv? Is there going to be heavy bombardment of the city? Is there a sense? There appears to be no clarity on what this final attack plan is going to be. Since last night, you've sensed that there is going to be a big attack. What kind of attack do you think it might be, Rajesh?
Look, Shiv, right now, what information I've gathered from various media sources, I have no independent source of this information, but I have gone through various sources available to the Russian media, the Western media, and from people around. The Russian forces have advanced closer to Kyiv, and the strength of Russian forces closer to Kyiv, mechanized forces, infantry, has increased manifold. They're waiting on the outskirts of Kyiv now to storm the city any moment they get the orders. And my thinking about this is that this 48 hours a time which was sought by the Ukrainian government yesterday in the talks on the Belarus border to have next set of talks on the border with Poland, moment that ends, that will be probably tomorrow, this invasion will take place, and it will be a full-scale conventional operation like people have been talking. Till now it was just in pocket special forces operations, but when this will happen now, which will be probably tomorrow or maybe tomorrow night, will be a full-scale conventional invasion of Kyiv, and Kyiv will be captured at that moment if Ukrainian army is not able to hold back. Over to you, Shiv.
Ominous developments coming in. Rajesh, our man on the ground in the city of Kyiv, that is going to be under siege. Probably a large-scale conventional attack to, by force take over the city. Remember, this is the city where President Zelensky is said to be in Kyiv right now. The Russians say he has fled, but he and his office say that he is very much still in Kyiv. At this point of time, the three defining images at this point of time on your screens here on India Today. Image number one of a cruise missile attack that's been caught on camera in the city of Kharkiv. Image number two in the middle there is of a late night strike. This is that cruise missile attack. Devastating image. The third image here you have is of a drone attack. This is part of the Ukrainian counter-strike. Rajesh was just saying that the Ukrainian counter-strike, the defenses have been pretty strong so far, but it remains to be seen whether it can face up to the large conventional force that President Putin is throwing towards Kyiv, in the next few hours. There is a huge rumble, big tank convoy. That image in the middle is what happened last night on the skyline over Kyiv. A huge explosion that was sighted in the distance. What kind of strike that was is not known just yet. Some kind of high-intensity explosion was also captured on camera. But that big missile attack, that first image, let's put that full screen, is from Kharkiv. And that is an image that the Ukrainian government, that the Ukrainian people are now describing as first live evidence. Let's put that first image full screen of the cruise missile attack. Can we put that image full screen quickly? Let's put that image full screen. If you guys can hear me, let's put that image full screen. Cruise missile attack on a historical government building in Kharkiv. That's become the defining image. Three defining images. Pawar continues to be with me. Rajesh, what is the situation in Kyiv right now? People still moving around? Are people preparing? What is the general citizenry doing at this time?
Shiv, just now the air siren went off. Did you hear it? I wanted to can you hear it now? Shiv, could you hear the siren, the air siren?
Hear it.
Shiv, could you hear me?
I can hear you, Rajesh. Go ahead. We just heard that air raid siren.
Yeah, there's an air siren going on. There's an air attack expected now. Maybe a bomb attack expected right now. And that's an indication that is telling people to take shelter. Go for some kind of bomb shelter right now. And this is an indication. This is going on continuously now for last 5 minutes. Can you hear me?
We can hear it. We can hear it, Rajesh. Keep describing it.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that, as I said yesterday, They are expecting an air attack or an attack by missiles now, right now, and this has been going on for last 5 minutes. The attacks have intensified, the bombing has intensified. This siren kept going off last night, and there were 5 to 6 distinct blast sounds last night indicating that some areas of Kyiv have been hit by missiles or by Russian rockets. Shiv.
What is the standard operating procedure once this air raid siren goes off, Rajesh? What is supposed to happen when one hears it?
Moment you hear this siren, this is an indication to you, to every citizen in the city, that you must take shelter. Either go to the basement if you have one, or go to a bomb shelter if you know something around. If nothing else, go to underground metros where you'll be probably safe. This is a call to the citizens to take shelter. Shiv.